Are you being screened? Next on Sales Talk with Joe. Whether you've been in sales for years, are just starting your career, or are even just considering a career in sales, Sales Talk with Joe is designed to help you achieve greater success. Have you ever pitched your product or service to someone at a potential customer only to find out they weren't the final decision maker? How much do you know about your customers or prospects? Why is it important to know as much as possible about them? Who and where are you? It's critical for you to be able to answer that question about your customers or prospects long before any sales conversations begin. Having that knowledge will help you discover what's important to the customer or prospect and match your products and services to their wants, needs, and desires. It will also help you avoid some common traps salespeople can fall into when engaging a customer or prospect. How do you find out who and where they are? Are you good at asking open-ended and high-yield questions to assess your customer's current situation and their wants, needs, and desires? What are high-yield and open-ended questions? Well, before we answer that, let's understand why it's so important. If you don't know what a customer really wants, they can and will control the sales process and will make it all about price. Unless your company has positioned themselves as the low-cost provider in the product or service category you're in, you're going to lose almost every time. And ultimately, that's not good for you, your company, or the customer either. As mentioned in the last video, products, features, and benefits are designed to meet needs and solve problems. If your prospect hasn't agreed with you that they have a need or a problem, your solution, meaning your product or service, has no value. So how do you find out what a customer's wants, needs, and desires are? What's the best way to do that? Also, if their current or prospective supplier is meeting them. Well, ask them. What a surprise, huh? Does that mean you say something like, "Say, I was wondering what your wants, needs, and desires are. Would you please enumerate them in descending importance?" Well, if you want to take a stab at setting a record for the world's shortest sales call, that's a great way to do it. Asking questions and letting the customer or prospect do more of the talking may seem counterintuitive at first, but it's what we need to do. Now, you may be thinking, how do I explain my product's features and benefits if I don't talk? Well, the best way to illustrate that, the answer to that question is to prevent a situation that a manufacturer of golf equipment ran into a while back. This particular company introduced a new high-end line of very expensive clubs. The clubs had all the latest technology and material. To highlight their new offering, they also launched a very expensive advertising campaign. Unfortunately for that company, sales fell way below expectations. They surveyed potential customers and discovered the customers didn't value the new features of the clubs. They decided the answer was to train all store personnel of the retailers that were selling the product to get the message directly to prospective customers. So they drilled the product features and benefits into that store personnel. Pretty soon the personnel could recite the pitch in their sleep. Results still significantly disappointed the company. They asked the store personnel what was happening when they presented the product. The store staff said they were steering potential buyers to the clubs and telling them the pitch verbatim. Without fail, a vast majority of shoppers said the clubs were way too expensive and too good for their amateur game. The company then surveyed potential customers and learned that they perceived the clubs to be exceptionally good, the quality a pro golfer would expect, but they were too expensive for a casual hacker. As they tried to explain products, features, and benefits, they discovered it was just reinforcing the perception that the clubs were way above the amateur's needs. So they took a different tactic. They taught the store personnel to interview potential customers before they started presenting the product. They learned what the customers felt were weaknesses in their game. Then matched the club's features and benefits to the customer's needs. Sales shot up over 100%. A feature and benefit exists to be a solution to a need, want, desire, or solve a problem. Offering a solution to a problem that you don't have an agreement with that exists will make your solution worthless. I know as salespeople, we are totally sold on our products or services and can't imagine anyone not desiring them. But we have to first make the prospect aware of their problems or wants, needs, and desires and get agreement with them that they exist. Without that awareness, a sale will never happen. After you've had some conversation with them that is an icebreaker and establishes a rapport with your customer or prospect, it's time to ask some high-yield, open-ended questions. What are high-yield, open-ended questions? Well, quite simply, they're questions that require much more information in the answer than close-ended questions, which can be answered with a quick yes or no. For example, a close-ended question that you might ask a prospective customer is, are you happy with your current supplier? You're going to get a yes or no answer every time, but you haven't learned anything. An open-ended way to ask the same question is, tell me about your current supplier. There's a good chance they'll tell you the whole history with them and what attracts them to that particular supplier. If you're dealing with an end user situation, you could ask, tell me who else you're considering to buy this product or service from, and what do you like about them? I've found the best open-ended questions through the TEDdy method. Now, TEDdy is an acronym, the letters T, E, D, and I. Now, it's important to give credit where credit is due. I learned this method from Mr. Tim Wackel, a wonderful sales trainer who also has a channel here on YouTube. You'll find some great content there as well. But if you go to visit him, please don't forget to come back here. Okay, back to the TEDdy method. TEDdy is the first letters of 4 wonderful open-ended questions that will start great conversations with your customers about their wants, needs, and desires. The T stands for tell me. Tell me about the goals for your purchase or product category, or about your current supplier, or who you've already talked to about this purchase. Those are some great examples. It's not really a question, but it's more of a command. But because you're showing interest in the customer or prospect's concerns, they'll let you use it and give you quite revealing information. The E stands for explain. An example would be, explain to me the reason you want to buy this product or service. Or explain to me who you've talked to about this purchase so far. Again, it's not really a question, but it's customer focused, so customers are happy to engage you in conversation. The D stands for describe. Describe for me when you'd like to make this purchase, or describe for me what success looks like in this decision. I like that conversation because it reveals a lot about what the customer expectations are. The I stands for if. An example would be, if you gather all the information you need to make the decision, when do you expect to do that? Or if you decide that I would be your right supplier, what's the next step to make this happen? Now, these are actually questions. You don't have to use TEDdy in that order, T-E-D-I. They're just arranged that way to make it an easy acronym to remember. And you aren't restricted to using just one during a sales engagement. In fact, the more information you get from a customer, the better your information gathering project is. Many times when a customer talks, most of the time, they sell themselves. You should never try to move the sales process forward before you know who you're talking to and what their perspectives are on your product, your competitor's product, what their project to buy looks like, and if they are the decision maker. Many times, whether it's a large corporation, a family-owned business, or just someone looking to buy something for themselves, they're not the real decision maker, or they don't make the decision by themselves. And sometimes the real decision maker has a screening process. They have a designated person to gather information and get it to them. I've had more than one experience when I was a young salesperson where I met with someone who said they were the buyer, and after a magnificent presentation of our company's product, features, and benefits, I was told, boy, this looks really good. I'll take this to my boss to get the okay, but that shouldn't be a problem. It'll take me about a week to get that done, so I'll get back to you then. Excitedly, I report to my boss that this one looks really strong and we should have it next week. All too often, when next week comes along, one of three things happen. The prospect goes dark, I can't get any response from them. Or if I do get a hold of them, they tell me their boss decided to go a different direction. The buyer isn't quite sure why. They thought our program and services looked really good, but their boss decided differently. Another response you may get once the buyer talks to the boss is, hey, I showed the boss all the information, your program, they loved it. Looks like we're going to go with it. But they did have a couple of little things that we might need to tweak in order to make this work, but I'm sure you'll find it's nothing big. That's when they hit you with something like, oh, we need a little bit of a price break or some terms, payment terms, shipping, one of several conditions or maybe several conditions. These are negotiating techniques that we'll talk about sometime in the future. I can only remember one time when I pitched a customer before I knew much about them that it was successful. I can remember many times that it failed. So it's important to find out who you're talking to. Once again, the Teddy method works wonders. Questions like, tell me about your role with the company. Can you explain your buying process? Describe what would happen if you were to decide that you found the right supplier. And if you decided that we're going to be the right supplier, what's your process for purchasing and when can we expect this to happen? Starting a sales pitch or the sales process without knowing who you're talking to will be just as fatal as not knowing what the wants, needs, and desires of this buyer and the company are. Practice high-yield questions, maybe even on family and friends. You'll be amazed at how productive they are and what you learn. I'm Joe Ferguson. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to leave a comment. If you liked what you saw, please hit the like button, share this video with someone who might benefit from it, and subscribe to make sure you see all current and future videos. If you have a product or service that you think would be a good match for my viewers and are interested in sponsoring these videos, please email me. My email address is in the description below. Thank you so much for watching and be on the lookout for the next Sales Talk with Joe.